We are going to talk about building urban analytics for Hub. We'll give a little bit about of an overview about Hub and see like where urban analytics fits within it. My name's Courtney Claessens. I'm a product engineer on the Hub team out of the Dev Center.
And I'm Manushi Majumdar, also a product engineer, a data science product engineer out of the Hub team.
So we're going to do a brief Hub overview, the what and why of urban analytics very briefly, what's the kind of things that we're thinking about and why is it important for what we are working with in the Hub. And then we're going to show you what we've been working on, some example Jupyter notebooks and tutorials and things like that, and then kind of say, what's next? How can you leverage this? How can you use it for your own work? Get involved, that kind of thing. So is anyone here kind of like brand new to the idea of ArcGIS Hub? Kind of, like, yeah? All right, cool. So we grew out of ArcGIS Open Data, which has been around for a long time, and we're seeing people put these data sites up, which is all good and great, but really putting data on the web is good for a very particular set of audiences. And what we are trying to do with Hub and kind of what we've seen customers been doing with their own open data sites is creating this place for people to come together and to really engage with the data and maps and charts and narratives and things like that. So on the left-hand side here, we have the City of Raleigh's government site, raleigh.gov. And on the right-hand side here, we have their ArcGIS Online site. And there's a lot of really great applications and insight and knowledge within the ArcGIS platform that a lot of users are doing. A lot of people on the street aren't going there to get answers to their questions. They're going to Google, they go to the main site and things like that. So we want to connect these two. We want to create these bridges and create these different pages and sites to really tell the story of the data. And so these three examples here, they have their strategic plan, they want to be safe, vibrant, and healthy, they have transportation and transit. These are all kind of getting into the ideas of what we're thinking of as initiatives and giving that data a goal and a purpose and creating a narrative around it. So we'll talk about how analytics is a critical, integral part of this work. And this data has a story, and analytics helps tell that story. So we think about analytics in the context of our initiatives. We have this initiative gallery that is focusing on a whole bunch of different goals that we're seeing different users work on. Ending hunger, Vision Zero, getting traffic-related deaths down to zero, addressing the opioid epidemic and things like that. This is a growing network. We work with early adopters, we work with our partners, we work with our customers to really get to the crux of what they're working on and what they're trying to communicate and what they're trying to achieve, and then add it to the product so that other people can benefit from that work. So inside an initiative, we have a package of capabilities. There's so much stuff out here, even in the expo hall, story maps, web app builder, ops dashboard, survey 123, Python API analyses. All of that kind of comes together and comes into this web page. And this is where people go to learn about what your city is working on, to learn about what your organization is working on, to interact with those charts, those maps, those graphs, and the underlying data, and seeing the analyses that you can make with that data to gain more insights. So, urban analytics. Just kind of a standard definition, methods of mathematical and symbolic modeling that generate insights into existing data as well as predictions of future data. This is from a book by Michael Batty, he's a professor, and we're thinking about how we can apply this to cities. And this is a really hot topic, and it's not necessarily super new, but over the past couple of years, you see grad programs popping up on urban analytics, and my undergrad is in urban geography, and we didn't really touch on it very much. So it is having kind of a big boom right now. And it's because like the way that we can use all of this data to understand urban systems is changing. The data that we have available is changing, it's growing. There's so much out there that we can use, and we have to use it responsibly. So how we are kind of pulling these two things together, we're not trying to like put in algorithms for the different initiatives. Like if you're trying to reduce crime, like we're not going to, I feel like it's really tricky, and we can talk about like the ethics of algorithms and like bad algorithms and all of that. We're not really talking about that today. We just kind of want to get people started with the power of analytics and introducing different ways that you can use apps and analytics and machine learning within the ArcGIS platform to then help benefit the goals that you're trying to achieve and help people better understand the community around them. And then ultimately, hopefully this will help kind of get people thinking about the power of this and help aid data-driven policy making. Ultimately, that is up to the end users and the people that are on the other side of this to how they use it, but it just gives you kind of like a kickstart. So I want to show you just a quick example. This is our initiative gallery. If you've been into the Hub admin, you can see all the different initiatives that we have in here. And how we're adding in initiatives or analytics into these different initiatives is in the template. So when you come in here, you have your website, different applications that you have, and what we've been kind of slowly adding in and rolling through are different kind of tutorials and ways to guide you to analyze your data and walk through and do things like drive time analyses, create high injury networks, and things like that. So Manushi is going to talk about that.
Thank you, Courtney. So all this while we've been working on various kinds of analysis, and we've looked at initiatives, as Courtney pointed out, as to what they are and how they fit together in the initiative gallery. I'm going to be touching upon two initiatives that we've been primarily working on all this while. That's the Vision Zero High Injury Network initiative, and the others the addressing opioid epidemic. So to get started with the urban problem for starters, what is Vision Zero High Injury Network? Vision Zero basically is a multinational project. It's across several cities, several towns in various countries and continents. And the main target here is to eliminate the fatalities caused out of road accidents. Like eliminate fatalities and reduce the number of major injuries and severe injuries. We all know essentially that the way you can be, the way one could be a part of a street accident is as a pedestrian, bicyclist, or occupant of a motor vehicle. But I'm sure we didn't know these numbers of 2015, where fatalities and injuries in 2015 were this high. And this is only the United States. Global numbers could increase by a whole other magnitude. And so what does high injury network to do? What does that have to do with this problem? High injury network is basically creating a network of streets with streets and street intersections. So the line file, a point file, putting it together and indicating the higher incidence of intersections or streets where you see most number of fatalities or severe injuries occurring. And how does this help? It's just like a picture speaks 1,000 words. You can just look at the map, look at that analysis, and know which are the most severe points or intersections or streets in your city or town that are like witnessing most number of severe street injuries. And the best part about the high injury network or the Vision Zero project is that all the city agencies, they vow to work towards it, and city agencies like the Department of Transportation, Department of Health, the Police Department, they all come together and provide the best data available to solve this problem. So the data that's handed to us as citizens or data scientists, analysts, all of that, you can be assured is the best data put together by all the city agencies. And what is Hub doing about it? Now that we know what the urban problem is, what is Hub doing about it? We started initially by creating a tutorial to build your own high injury network. which I'm going to touch upon now. So this is a hub site. Hub lets you build sites and pages. So we've got a hub site called Vision Zero based off the initiative, and then this is a page that runs through the tutorial. What we're doing here is we're explaining the problem and what high engineering network essentially is and does. We all know about ArcGIS Pro, the desktop tool. They've got this particular project or add-on called crash analysis. What crash analysis lets you do is, once integrated into your Pro setup, it lets you, just given basic, I think I'd rather show it to you. Just given basic data like your streets or intersections, streets as in your line file, intersections are a point file, your crash location, so another data set that shows where most of these crashes or all of these crashes essentially are happening, a time range in years or weeks or months, another snap to street distance. So if your accidents are happening a little away from this street, maybe along a sidewalk or so, snapping it to the appropriate street. Again, that distance provided in feet or meters, a weight in case necessary for your analysis. Again, an optional field of daily traffic in case you're aware of those exact numbers, and a location for your output file. And this is what it helps us generate. So this basically is an analysis we've created. It's a web app builder app that shows you the high engineering network for Naperville in Illinois. So the red intersections that we see here are basically those intersections that witness the most number of serious injuries or fatalities, and the lighter the color of the street or the intersection, the relatively lower number of injuries. And what does this tell us? So as we click on a street or an intersection, we have a pop-up that's giving us more information, and the red indicates that about 40% of the streets in Naperville have more than 3.2 crashes per mile per year, which is actually an alarming number, come to think of it. So this page that we've built here, all it does is it tells you what the problem is, it tells you how, it gives you a link to download the particular Pro tool that can be integrated within Pro. It has a map showing you what the analysis looks like, what the output is supposed to look like, and steps to reproduce it on Pro. So once you follow this, and then how to publish it to your ArcGIS Online account, once you follow through this, you can basically reproduce the same analysis for your own city or your own town. Another thing we've been doing for the Vision Zero or High Engineering Network initiative is analyzing DC's bike crashes. Since we're based out of the R&D center in DC, our focus has been on DC's bike crashes. So again, why look at bike crashes specifically and not crashes encountered by pedestrians or drivers? Unfortunately, like in 2015, bicyclists had the largest increase in street fatalities, and only 53% of these accidents were actually reported in newspapers, and more often than not, only those that were like severe fatalities. The rest have kind of been overlooked. So I thought, may as well let data do the talking, and let's see what data has to say about it. So we start by pulling in the DC crash data set, seeing what it looks like. So here, every row basically is a location and then other details about the crash occurring there. So I'm using Python's two packages, that's bokeh and data shader, that are basically used for fancier visualizations. And pulling that data in, we're creating an empty plot container and putting in code to query essentially the total number of crashes, that is major fatalities or severe injuries happening at a particular location, creating that query, trying to plot it, tuning parameters, and this is what we see. So this area here is downtown DC. These really light, creamish, whitish colored, like few spots that you see there, few points, they're basically zero injuries, zero fatalities happening at those locations. But the darker the color gets, that indicates the more number of injuries and fatalities happening there. And by the number of red and orange points that we see there, we can tell it's a lot more grave than we thought it would be. We then delve into this notebook to see if all these bike crashes are actually happening on dedicated bike lanes. So to do that, I'm using the ArcGIS API for Python that we've been seeing earlier through the summit. And I'm using the API to publish my data to my ArcGIS Online account. So I'm doing it in two separate ways. I'm first publishing a pandas data frame of the filtered bike crashes, the ones that I filtered right here from the data I just pulled in. So this is basically the approach you use to publish a pandas data frame. And this is just to verify that it's been published successfully. Next, I have my bicycle lanes, the bike lane zip file, the shape file zipped onto my computer. And this is the approach you use to upload or publish a shape file to your ArcGIS Online account. Having done that, I go ahead, I create a map. And once you look at this map, you realize that the bike lanes or the bike crashes don't necessarily happen only on bike lanes. They happen all over the place. Just kind of waiting for the map to load here. And it's a lot alarming when you see how it works. A lot of these bike crashes are not happening on dedicated bike lanes, but anywhere and everywhere. And what does that tell us? It's something we need to take to the Department of Transportation with a proposal that bike lanes are needed not just where they already exist, but in a lot of other places. And perhaps infrastructure is a way to solve the problem of increasing bike fatalities and injuries. Then I delve deeper into the data, take a different look at it, and I try to analyze the people meeting with bike accidents and their ages. And having done that, this is the chart we get. So most number of people meeting with these bike accidents, be it fatalities or severe accidents, are in the age range of 20 to 30 and 30 to 40. The 0 to 10 here is thankfully not toddlers on the streets, but it's missing data that I've tried to categorize there. And so this is a form of a case study that we have done, a kind of a proof of concept that infrastructure is a way to solve this problem. So this is one of the things that we're doing with the hub initiatives. And another way we're trying to solve this problem is we're aiming to build predictive models using the crash data. For those of us who've attended the keynote earlier this morning and we've seen the Utah analysis, the machine learning analysis done there to predict the future crashes, that is one thing we'd love to integrate within Hub to see if that is something we could do, and that could be scaled to various cities and towns, even preferably across the world. Another initiative that I'll be looking at here is the opioid epidemic initiative. The reason this is important is that it's a leading cause of death in the United States. Just in 2015 alone, about 52,000 people have died because of the opioid epidemic. And this whole initiative caters to local governments coming together, local governments across the country coming together and addressing this problem with data and maps. And an interesting thing we noticed with the data is a lot of people or a lot of overdose deaths have occurred in non-metropolitan areas as opposed to metropolitan areas. We'd assume with an increased population in metropolitan areas, there also consequently be an increased use of drugs and increased overdose deaths in metropolitan areas, but data of 2015 suggests otherwise. And one of the most obvious reasons we thought was the limited public transit access, for example, to the treatment and prevention centers and clinics for the opioid epidemic. And while there are various ways to address this problem using data and maps, the approach we decided to take, at least for now, is a drive time analysis in non-metropolitan areas to the treatment and prevention clinics. So as we see here, this is a map, which I'll be showing in detail as well, that we've been creating for this. So as we see here, this is a story map series that shows a drive time analysis for the opioid treatment, prevention, or both clinics in Oakland, Michigan. The orange icons we see here are the clinic locations. The green area around it are areas within the county that can be reached within a 5-minute drive time. And the red icons here are basically the census block groups, and clicking on each will give you further information about the population, the spending on health insurance, and also the number of residents that are educated, as well as the drive time to the closest clinic. And this is a map series that we've created across all these 4 factors. Another thing we realized while building this was to educate the community, to educate citizens to build this themselves. And to do that, again, we've gone and created, on our hub site, we've gone and created this page that tells you what the problem is, why it's important, and what's a solution that we're offering here. We've embedded the map here so you know what it looks like, what we've been doing, and then how to generate this using the ArcGIS Online user interface. So it's a step-by-step tutorial that guides you to actually reproduce the same analysis if you have this similar data required for your city. And then we took it a step further and we also scripted it. We scripted it entirely using the ArcGIS API for Python. All you need to do here is get the URLs for your clinic data set, as well as the census block groups for your particular city or town. Having done that, you just need to follow along and see how you bring in the data, perform drive time analysis. Once the drive time analysis is done, you join those layers together, then enrich it with necessary data, the one that I've shown for population and the number of citizens that are educated, the health insurance spending. Having enriched the result with that, we then go ahead and visualize it just to ensure we've got what we intended to start with. Having visualized it, this is what you can do, just providing the API the URLs for your particular data sets. So we show how the opioid epidemic can be addressed using a drive time analysis. We've done it for non-metropolitan areas just to show how it can be done, but you can go ahead and do it for even your metropolitan cities. And there are several ways to do it. You can use the UI or script. So how does all this analysis and maps and code fit into the larger picture that Courtney was talking about? We include all these analysis tools and results and techniques within the initiative. They're packaged together to provide one whole toolkit that can help you do the analysis. Next, we aim to encourage citizen scientists. We encourage people to come together and show an interest and perhaps get motivated to even initiate and drive analysis for their communities. The best part about the initiative here is we're using all the ArcGIS products, and we're identifying the best tool, best product available for the particular analysis. As I've shown you, we've used the API, we've used Pro, we've used the web map builder, the story maps. We're identifying the best tool for the particular analysis, and then we're packaging them all together. And the biggest advantage is we're already doing the analysis and providing it to the city officials and policymakers, eliminating the process for them to be educated enough or get into the weeds of the data and try to solve this problem themselves. To involve the community, we're also doing a bunch of introductory analysis, integrating big data and predictive analysis, which I'll be touching upon. So even the community can get involved and interested and get started with doing analysis. This is a general Python tutorial to get started and to reproduce this for your community. It shows you how to get data, how to find it from ArcGIS Hub and Open Data. And once having done that, how can you visualize it using the API? And then use Python and Python's packages to visualize it on a chart. And then again, see how it looks. Then we've also put together about 300,000 rows, 300,000 features of data. We've integrated all of that and then published it as one feature service using the ArcGIS API for Python. You have this tutorial available as well for access in case you've got data spanned over years or months to stitch together and publish as one feature. And this one goes a little deeper into machine learning. It's like an end-to-end machine learning tutorial that helps you fetch data, read through it, clean it, more importantly, make it machine learning, math ready. And once all that's done, do it, get your results, publish it on ArcGIS Online, and then see what can be done with it. So to encourage citizens to get community involved, we've got tutorials spanned through various like fields here. And what next? We're trying to get started with an address homelessness initiative. I'll be showing you a particular story map put together here by the team that works out of Redlands. So it's combating homelessness in the LA County. So they go ahead and explain what it is, and then they show various risks and various factors that contribute and which areas need more, more focus and not. So it's a very detailed story map, which I encourage you to go and look at. So that is something we're trying to script and automate and make it easily accessible for, again, reproducibility for various cities. We're also trying to build an ArcGIS Hub Python support, which helps you not only access Hub and these analysis via the UI, but you can also script it. So you can fetch all your initiatives, go through the analysis and see what you'd like to do using the Python package. And here's a link to our notebooks. If you've got any further questions about what we're doing, or you have questions, concerns, would like to learn more, we've got a booth right there. Happy to answer all those questions, or you could even scan your badge right there, and you'll have all the information in your email. Thank you so much.